welcome to Office Hours with Amber. I'm Amber and this is Office Hours. We are in week 2 of July, which is crazy because the summer's already basically over. I'm already mourning the loss of the tan that I've barely put on, so mazel tov. Audio is... Hello and welcome to Audio's working. Good to go. We're in week 2. This month is Python and Excel. Week 1, we watched a few videos from Layla and she blew my mind, and now I've only scratched the surface and I have not even tried to even a little bit. Oh my gosh, Esther, hello. Thanks for coming. I've not scratched even the surface of Python. I think it deserves way more time than I'm giving it. I could probably do like 6 months of Python and still find new stuff out, but that's okay. We're at least scratching the surface to know it exists and know it has certain purposes. And last week, we saw a few examples of like date cleanup, of unpivoting data, as well as really good formatting for graphs and like visuals, which I was really impressed with. So I think the triggers, at least in my mind originally, are going to be in those 3 ways of trying to put them in rotation. But each of those things, I think graphs and visuals is like a firm pillar. Whereas, for instance, with dates, like the first example we did with dates and having it in all sorts of different formats and all sorts of different ways, with that, it's like a one-time cleanup activity. So I don't have a lot of data that needs that much cleanup right now. So it's like, goes back and forth. The unpivoting data is like a once in a while situation because with both of those instances, if I'm collecting dates as information, oftentimes I am pre-data validating and like whatever entry form that I'm getting this data in is normally fixed up. You know what I mean? Like I don't give people the option to get it wrong the first time. But I also don't interact with a bunch of large data sets from other people lately. So I see how those are going to be important, especially in like, I could see a few like competitions where that like unpivot specifically, but in that circumstance, I'd probably use OA Robot because it's going to come to my brain much faster than Python will. However, the graphs, because they are kind of a pillar or like a stationary thing that lives inside of reporting that is updated frequently, I could see that becoming very useful for more routine things. Similarly to Let's, Lambdas, and some Power Query, it's one of those tools that I foresee using to set and forget situations. So like if I'm building client tools, it's more of like if there's something wrong inside of this black box of Let, Lambda, Power Query, or Python, let me know. Because I don't, like, those are the things that are like still pretty new to me or newer to me. And figuring out how, like, teaching people how to troubleshoot their own problems in that is pretty tough. Power Query is not so bad because it's got such sequential order where you can kind of find the problems. But with the Let, Lambda, even LUTs are pretty okay. Once you kind of walk someone through the structure of it, they're not so bad. But Lambdas and Python, I think, are going to be one of those things that I make, and then I go, if anything happens in this little box, you let me know. And I'm okay with that level of management because I don't see myself using them, oh my God, so much that it's like a huge problem. But today's goal is to assess some business frictions and see where Python makes sense to apply it to that. At the moment, my brain is so fried. So before we get going, basically, we're just going to chit chat for a few minutes. And then I'm going to get into it probably at 7:10. Harry just mentioned, I'm worried that they might start changing for Python use in Excel at some point soon. I think this is originally the plan, but they are reconsidering looking at usage rates. Oh, that's probably a good idea because I could see how if you, like, especially with the big machine, like machine learning models, that could become a big problem. So that's interesting. Thank you for letting me know. Also, so nice to see you. Yeah, so I don't know about you guys, but it's summer here in Michigan and it gets busy. Everyone wants to do something. It's finally exciting to be outside. Everyone you work with is on varying levels of vacation. And it's like, I was talking to my friend Laura earlier today, and we were saying, it's like the last 6 months, I've just been like, when you're jogging in gym class, because people jog like this, you're jogging in gym class, having a good time, and then you really put your whole ass into that last lap, and then the coach goes, another lap, and you're like, what the fuck? I just put all my energy into that last lap. I don't have anything else in me. And I think I've had the whispers of burnout coming for a while, and I don't think I'm in full crash out, burnout, dead. It's more of like I can feel it coming, so I've been trying to actively rest, actively stay in tune, trying to just chill. But the thing is, the more you chill, the deeper the list gets. And so my 3 modes of defense, if you've heard me before, usually I have like a 4 square where I fold this into 4 squares, and I have my little to-do list of my like weekly, or like my daily to-dos or my weekly to-dos. And then from there, like I have my digital backlog of every good idea I've ever had ever, so I can get that out of my brain. And a lot of ADHD is just get it out of your brain, give it the time of day when it deserves. Like all these ideas are so good, but like give it a moment when the moment's right. So like I'm in constant assessment of when is the moment right for all of these different things to happen. And to the outside eyes, this to manage your life looks like a lot. To me, it is at least a plan. So my to-do list have gotten so insane, and I know that I'm getting to really close to crash out, like burnout, when an hour goes by and all I've done is rewritten my list again, just in cleaner font. Because it's when you have 6 different pens and 6 different fonts and 6 different, the more meticulous, like it's good that my default setting is when things get crazy, I lean more into these systems. That's the point of them. And I was also talking to my coworker, Kaylin, about having mood menus or like energy level plans for energy levels. So for instance, and I think her name is Haley Honeyman or Haley, I need to look it up, but she talks about mood menus as well. So like on low energy days, what's your plan to eat normally and well? On medium energy days, on high energy days, we're going to go to the grocery store. We're going to try a new recipe. We're going to do this. On low energy days, we grab a freezer meal that is nutritionally balanced and we move on with our life. So having plans for those low, medium, and high energy days is at least setting you up for success, that you're not going to fall into your default really bullshit patterns. Like my nonsense patterns are get fast food, sit in bed, cry a lot, watch some TV. I'm like, I will crash out or actually worse than that, I sit at my desk and I'll just stare at my screen and pout for hours because I'm like, I need to get this done. I need to get this done. Sitting in bed at least is resting. So like my crash out looks like just sitting here. So finally I've taken the moment where I'm like, okay, nothing's getting done. At least go sleep, because then you might have a chance of being good tomorrow. So that's the part of the summer that I'm in. It's fine. The nice thing is I've seen this happen for 10 years. Like it's the same thing every year. So now it's like, Amber, you're good. Just vibe with it. But yeah, first line of defense is the 4 square. Second line of defense is an action log with like 2-part parameters of impact of doing this thing, like benefit of doing this thing. And then the second is time to complete that item. So basically if it's low time, high impact, do that first, move on. And then you move that way. Problem is I've done that so many weeks in a row. So everything that has been like a hard to do, long to do item that still has to stay on my list because they're things that like functionally should happen. Now all of those things have all piled up together and joined forces. Like a just shit mountain. So what I recognized, and I think Emily, if you didn't watch the community call this last month, Emily brought it up really nicely of when a task is too ambiguous, it's a new thing, if it's like gonna be kind of annoying, or if you know that you've been avoiding it, instead of booking off time for yourself to how much time does it take to complete that task, now you've transitioned into, I'm gonna do this for 10 minutes. And if it sucks, after 10 minutes, I get to go do something else. And then giving it then usually in the middle of that 10 minutes, you either find out that it really wasn't that big of a deal, and then you end up doing more. Or two, you go, yeah, that did suck. And then you step away for a bit. But at least you've put 10 more minutes in than you did when you were just avoiding it. So to add to that, so I really liked what she said with that. So I added more steps to the matrices, and that's why this looks a little crazy. And Esther, I'm so sorry you feel the same way, because there's just no way out. I feel like I'm just either going to let a lot of people down or I'm going to figure it out. So we're going to engineer our way out. So that's where we've got the impact of doing, time to do, and I'll put a number rating. So like 1 being a low impact, 3 being a high impact. So I end up adding up all these numbers at the end, and that will tell me what the priority task is based on all of these metrics. So time to do, if it's a long thing, it'll get a 1 because that's like lower, and 3 is high. 3 is like low amount of time to do backwards. Basically 3 being high benefit, low benefit situation. Preventing others. So I wanted to add a list item of, if I do not do this, does it prevent other people from doing their jobs, or does it prevent me from doing other things on this list? And the reason why that's important is because one of the things I value is like community and connection and doing right by others. And so if I'm actively in the way of other people, that will snap me into action so frequently. Also, Esther, I must see your spreadsheet. Please send it to me. I put, is there a real deadline? Because sometimes we make up deadlines because we're like, well, I should have done it by this. Well, no, there's no shoulds. It's just, does it have a real deadline or not? And then there's an ambiguity rating. So like, if it's low ambiguous, like I've done this before, it's not new, or 3 being highly ambiguous. So for instance, like, let's see, we have a master product table that I really need to clean up. That's a very ambiguous thing because there's all sorts of different nuances of products and their codes and their SKUs. And if I fuck it up, it's big bad. So very ambiguous. And then I put another one is body double. Is there someone that makes sense to sit with me while I do this? And it seems silly, but I had my coworker Matt, I needed to get contracts out, and he was being prevented from invoicing because I didn't get the contract done. So by having him sit next to me, we got it done. Pretty cool. So with all of this, I put it in, and I've associated all, like, I have plenty of problems to do, but like I'm having trouble seeing how any of these can be solved with Python. So to wrap it all the way back around, guys, I'm going to complain at ChatGPT for like 5 minutes to assess my business frictions, to be able to identify which ones are even close to being able to be handled by Python. And then from there, if it says, nope, everything should be handled some other way, then I'm just going to probably continue the YouTube videos that I saw, but we'll see. Okay, let's do it. Sorry, that was 13 minutes of me bitching, but we're into it. But I'd love to find out, Harry, Esther, what are you guys up to this month? Doesn't have to be goal related. Harry, you said way too hot here, but I don't know why ice skating is a winter sport, but it is fantastic in the summer. You're so right. I love it. And Esther, perfect. I would love to see the sheet. Okay. So, oops. So this is a recap of what we learned last week. Was the date example where we're able to have all of these different dates and then be able to use PD to date time and highlight it. Additionally, there is the unpivot scenario. So this is where we had all of the test scores, and then we were able to unpivot here with varying levels of success, actually complete success, talking out of my ass. And then we have this set of data here that is being represented with a swarm plot, which I've never seen one of these before. It's kind of interesting, but yeah. So that's what we did week 1. Week 2, basically, I'm going to let ChatGPT pull information out of me because at this point I'm a little burnt out. So we're just going to get into it. Let's go into the tech bin. Okay. I don't even know I'm speaking English right now. Just repeated the whole sentence. That's okay. Okay, we're just gonna go one question at a time. What's something in an Excel that takes way too many steps or clicks to update, clean, or calculate? Probably our project profitability calculator, because I have to pull information from all sorts of invoices to compare and input into the grid. Or our financial forecasting and review, performance review Excel sheet. It's really not that difficult anymore. I don't think that's a good answer, but it's kind of clunky in the way of like, it's not clunky because of Excel. It's clunky because I haven't standardized it yet, but we're going to just see what it says. Maybe it could just solve my problems. I don't think it will, but we'll see. 2, have you ever tried to do something in Excel and it felt like you were jumping through hoops to force formulas or Power Query to behave? I had that NDA project a while ago that would have been helpful, but if I open that can of worms, I think I'll die. Difficult to force. The other problem about this, the problem is because I've learned so many things about Excel in other ways, like dynamic arrays and lambdas, lets, and all that, that has made up for a lot of the lack. And so that's where I think I don't have a good answer. Oops. There we go. We're back. Huh. I think I'm actually just mentally zapped. That'd be hilarious if I just commented, I have. Probably for like forecasting models, because with our clients at Good Trade Depot, I do need to build like a very basic forecasting forecasting tool to like rope in their like sales numbers to be able to compare against like their inventory, kind of do like a poor man's production planner. I don't think calling it a poor man's something is, I think there's a better term for that. So I just sound dumb when I say it. Maybe like a very simple production planner. Or something that could help with our warehouse management system in Excel. That would be wicked. Nobody dollars, nobody number. Hello. We're just learning about Python and Excel by making ChatGPT tell me Basically, I know everyone likes to talk some nonsense about ChatGPT lately. There's a lot of people that are like, have you ever never had a thought for yourself? Have you never critically thought? Ugh. The number of, like, a lot of TikTok is like really shatting on anyone using ChatGPT. Now, the environmental stuff damages I don't understand fully, and I've tried to look around on like the true numbers of like what is the environmental impact of ChatGPT, and I'm trying to connect with like, okay, if I specifically stop using it, what is that impact? And I know that is like such a horrible way to say it, but like me stop using ChatGPT versus huge organizations. Like, I'm a small business owner. I have only 2 brain cells left in the day. I can critically think, but there's so much of the day that I have to be so on for. So for the little nonsense, little nuance, learning something new, yeah, I'll proudly wear the flag that I have no critical thinking skills, and sometimes you just need some help. So, no judgment, and especially for the ADHD squad, like, if anyone makes you feel shameful for using ChatGPT to unweave your brain, tell them it is a literal, like, disability tool. So, I digress. Is ADHD a neurological disability? Oh my God. I'm neurologically disabled. Hell yeah. That's new. Okay. Vibes. Okay. I got opinions then. So for every person that's chatting on people using ChatGPT, if you're in the neurologically diverse community, don't feel any shame using it, because I would say ChatGPT is almost a neurological disability tool. Like, yeah, I'm confirmed in that fact. I'm back on it. Okay. Number 3, are you dealing with data sets that are starting to choke Excel? Nah. Small for now. I used to. Actually, you guys want to know something crazy? When I was at Anheuser-Busch, there was 600 wholesalers that had like 300 items, 12 weeks of forecasts. And so for items, weeks. So just for forecasters, we had to interact with upwards of, I need my commas. Hey, Eric. 2 million data points, like the like individual wholesalers, obviously 300 times 12, but among all of the wholesalers, that's 2 million data points that are submitted weekly. Then if you think about that, each of those wholesalers and items is sold among like 3,000 items, like 3,000 stores in their networks. Like, which is insane. And then if you think about like those stores selling on like day to day or whatever, the number of data points that Anheuser-Busch interacts with, like back when I was there, like I was interacting with some beef, you know what I mean? And so now I'm like, I don't know, 10,000 rows max. So nah, we're vibing. Probabilities and simulations. Ooh. This is all the time. This would be huge. That'd be really huge, because I have not put a lot of energy into building any of our forecasting and scenario modeling. I've done like a cost calculator, but like I did like a forecasting tool for a pet supplements brand, and I'm imagining Python is going to kick my ass. But as Harry mentioned, if they change the usage rules or like the anything like that, that would have been a kink anyway. Do you ever wish your reporting could be automated, or that you had charts and visuals that doesn't do well natively? Yep. Native Excel charts are a big bummer a lot of the time. 6, existing tool frustrations. Are there any Python tools or packages you've heard of that you're Curious about Excel. I have no idea what NumPy? Okay. Let's see what it says. Okay, I'm going to read. Project profitability calculator, pulling in messy invoice data. Check out Faker. What's that? Financial forecasting performance clunky, lack standardization, probably aggregating among clients. Yes. Automate structure and summaries. Cool. Future facing ideas, dynamic planning tools, demand first production, fantastic. Inventory levels, reorder, turnover rate, space planning, conditional logic, 50-50. I don't have enough data to support that yet. Scenario modeling. Oh, Monte Carlo. Hell yeah. I wonder if there's like an easy way to describe what Monte Carlo simulation is. This probably is it. Oh,
all you wanted was
Python. Accidental. Exciting.
Simulation. Monte Carlo simulation is used widely in fields such as engineering, physics, and finance. We'll cover how this intuitive framework can solve challenging probabilistic questions, and I'll show you how we can analyze a real problem using Monte Carlo in Python. And we'll do all of this in just over 5 minutes. So let's jump right into today's topic. To introduce Monte Carlo simulation, let's consider the following situation. It's 9 a.m. on a Thursday when your boss, Todd, comes into the office demanding that you have 2 reports on his desk by end of day. Now, let's just say that Todd is not the easiest boss to work for, but his demands today are particularly frustrating to you, as you scheduled months ago a meetup with your friends and family that's taking place at 6 p.m. Now, for better or worse, you want to keep your job, but you also don't want to miss out on the event that's in just 9 hours. And so in pondering what to do next, you ask yourself, what is the chance that you could even finish these 2 reports in time for the party, and how could you actually...
Side note, the reason why I'm taking so much time to find the right problem to solve with Python is because I know that Python is really well written in ChatGPT or by AI. Compliments to Eric for letting me know. So that's why I'm not too particularly pressed on like how to write it, but we couldn't be bothered to model it properly. So we simulated it 100 million times. Well, yes. And so I agree to a point. And so this recent project I did, especially in high variability environments that are based on human behavior, that's the ones that I think are more specifically really helpful with Monte Carlo, or things with like specific interest rates, or like things that have such a level of variability that if you were to run it a few more times to be able to see like what the curve and like bounds of it looks like, I would say are helpful.
even go about computing that chance. Now, to answer this question, we are going to rely on Monte Carlo simulation.
Might want to see my screen.
And what's wonderful about this technique is that we can answer challenging probabilistic questions like this one with limited background actually in probability. So let's go back to our situation. Todd is expecting that you have 2 reports on his desk by end of day. Based on past experience, you're going to make a couple of guesses. These 2 reports will take anywhere between 1 to 5 and 2 to 6 hours respectively.
The other thing I like about Monte Carlo is if you were to, by using like simulating it a bunch of different times. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I am okay, actually, I didn't even mention this before. My first paid Peachy Profitability project started around 3 years ago today. And tomorrow is my 2-year Independence Day, being completely self-employed. So I've lasted 2 years and I did not die. Pretty cool. That bee nearly took me out year 1, but yeah, so thank you and happy anniversary to me.
Really to complete and your
the other thing about Monte Carlo simulation that I think is really important is being able to test the bounds of financial risk in a certain situation, or like bounds of risk of like number of people required or number of XYZ things required. So what I like is if you like run all of these different simulations and the bounds is saying that the wait time at maximum ever of all of your variability is like, let's say 40 minutes, it's like, okay, then you can start to see like with all of the variables that are involved, you can start to make logical and intelligent managerial decisions based and strategic managerial. I'm going to have a stroke. Strategic managerial decisions based on the bounds you have observed. But that takes a specific kind of person setting up the simulation with certain bounds to be able to correctly look at what is important to you. And that's where like alignment on priorities and assessment is important. I read papers where Monte Carlo is used for asset prices and other macro finance topics. Hell yeah. I definitely in college didn't take advantage of how much experience we got with Monte Carlo simulation. We used Crystal Ball in Excel, which is pretty wicked, but I think it was like $1 gazillion. I think it's by Oracle. I don't remember. But I remember doing a lot of that in college, which is good because now it's like just a part of my backbone. Anyways, I want to see if it says anything specific about Python in here, and then we'll move on.
Report has no bearing on the other. So those assumptions are going to inform the first step of Monte Carlo simulation, which is we will come up with some measure of uncertainty for each uncertain factor underlying our decision-making process. So based on a quick search online, you decide to represent the time to complete each report as following what's called a uniform distribution, which is a really intuitive idea. The probability distribution assumes the relative likelihood of all outcomes between a defined min and a defined max are the same. Now here is where the beauty and simplicity of Monte Carlo simulation comes into play. What we're going to do now is rely on a computer to randomly pick the time to complete each report. Those selected values are going to be based on our defined uniform distributions, which is why it is really important to make sure that you come up with a good estimate of those distributions at the start. Now let's speed this process up and do it maybe thousands, maybe millions of times. And we're going to store all of these randomly selected values, and once we do that, we can use those stored results to approximately estimate the distribution around the time to complete both reports, which we can now use to figure out the chance we'll make it to the party in time. And that's really the crux of Monte Carlo simulation. And so you can imagine for problems with many sources of uncertainty,
have I taken the machine learning ML as in machine learning class at WMU, considering as one of the electives? No, not really. Oh, no. Well, specifically, no, I didn't take it. And then secondarily, because the difference of the track you're on versus the track I'm kind of in is that like I live, not that, I don't know, I don't really much get into like the economics and finance of it all. I'm more in like the strategic, managerial, tactical, tangible stuff. And so that's where machine learning, especially when we're implementing that on our forecasting models at Anheuser-Busch, I will say, props to me. I was a part of one of the first machine learning implementations to wholesaler forecasting at Anheuser-Busch, like nationally, which was pretty wicked. However, I also got to see the nuts and bolts of how it works, and I was severely unimpressed. Especially because really, I mean, it's a multiple regression that can analyze all of these little tiny trends, which you think would be really fantastic. But what it lacks is, even when we would feed it future pricing and future events, and we would interact with like a yes, no for like future canaries in the coal mine, like, which if you don't know that reference, please let me know. But basically alarm bells that things are happening in the future. The problem is, even when fed correctly, and like it would get better a little bit at a time, but like it just so severely, the length of time and this is back in like 2021, it was so severely slow that like we couldn't keep implementing it without it completely financially and operationally fucking the business up so bad. And so like that was a part of my project, was being able to assess one-to-one machine learning versus the human input, and then measuring the accuracy of both along the way. And so I learned the guts of that project. And so I've saw it also implemented 2 or 3 more times unsuccessfully. It was a huge suck of money. And of course, Anheuser-Busch could do it. Love them so much. But being on the ground, seeing all of what, like, oh, this big thing is going to save us. No, you're still going to have like a random event that pops up or a random discount. And even when you fed it correctly. Anyways, I'm not bitching. I'm just saying I've seen I think there's a future in like learning, and I've got the bones of the basics, but I think there's enough people that are really, really talented and excited about it. I'm just not one of them. Haven't gone deeper into MC but it does remind me of bootstrapping method. I learned in stats, math, probability. Yeah, feel that. Feel
Monte Carlo
that.
simulation provides a simple way.
And specifically, and I'm just, not that I'm avoiding Python, I got two beans in my brain today, so Monte Carlo simulation, it'd be interesting to see its take on it. Like, is it really just 2 lines of code to see something happening? Or, like, I'd be interested to see what it says, but like, I don't really see it in my day-to-day right now because I don't have anything that's like enough of a risk that I need to vary and see the impacts of it right now. Like if I was about to buy a machine or buy like or like implement something new, I would want to test the bounds of like the probability of something happening. But like, I think it's overkill for a lot of things. So yeah, anyways.
To analyze complex systems. So to really appreciate Monte Carlo simulation, let's quickly show how you can implement it. And I'm going to do so in this video through Python. To first go about conducting our Monte Carlo simulation, we're going to rely on a library called NumPy, which has available functionality hidden at Monte Carlo simulation. So I'm going to import NumPy and propose that we do 1,000. Let's just make it 1 million Monte Carlo simulations. And we'll do this for our 2 reports, which I'll refer to as being A and B. And they will take anywhere between 1 to 5 hours and 2 to 6 hours to complete. So let's define those values for the arguments for these functions. And of course, the total time to complete these 2 reports is simply their summation. So let's add them up, and voila. We now have 1 million random samples, which is great, but we now need to be able to use them to properly figure out the chance we'll make it to the party on time. So to do this, what I'll do now is bring in Matplotlib, which I frequently rely on to visualize data. And what we're going to do once we've imported Matplotlib is initialize a plot, which will be a histogram. And you'll notice that I set the argument density being equal to true so that we can plot everything in the form of probability densities. And let's also layer on top of this plot a vertical red line at the value 9 as the barbecue is in just 9 hours, making it a bit easier to visualize the probability the total time to complete both reports exceeds that threshold. And let's just do one more thing. After showing our plot, let's print the percentage of simulations that exceeded a total of 9 hours. We can do this by simply summing up the number of instances that meet a condition, in this case the time to complete exceeds 9 hours, and dividing it by the total number of simulations. And how cool is that? Without doing any hand calculations or derivations, you could pretty quickly estimate that there is a...
Okay, to be honest, I do like this idea. However, the problem I see is, so for instance, the simulation, this works for A plus B, but in order, like I just did a simulation of like estimating like people arriving at a store, and then what are they bringing, what do they need help with at the desk, and like if I was to rebuild that simulation fully in Python, I could see it making sense, but it's tough when the data that I want to, like right now, the problem with that is that I run the simulation, the output statistics come out, but I would need it to like snapshot that data. So that's more of like a VBA, like a data memorialization problem. But if I was to, it's nice to know this. So if I was to completely build a simulation in Python, it could handle doing all of the, variability in there. So I think that is cool. It's just not a right now problem, I think.
It's a reasonable chance that you won't make it to the barbecue in 9 hours, around 12 to 13%. So
cool. Anyways, we got the vibes. Charting and Excel. Okay, back to what we're actually getting here. So let's do... Invoice parsing. Auto pull clean line items from invoices using Python scripts. I would like this. I think Power BI or Power App. I'm so tired of my brain not working. I'm fine. Power Query does a kind of half and half okay job, kind of. So I'm interested in this first. Yes. Hi, Matt. Forecast grid cleaner, turning messy forecast tabs into structured analyzed tables. I don't need the tables. Like, I don't need the grid to be clean, so let's say no. Production planning. Build a planning tool that auto-calculates material needs, production time, and compares it to availability. Way easier than using nested ifs or Power Query. I'm going to hit it with a hard maybe on that because I don't trust... I'm skeptical that that's real, but we'll see. Oops. Let's just make those little again. Okay. Simulations. Running thousands of simulation. I am later. interested in the simulations. Better charts. I think yes now. If I have the right thing that I need charts for, maybe my financials. We'll see that. Oop. Warehouse optimization. Analyze stock levels, reorder logics, simulate space. Turning static table into smart tool. I'm going to hit it with maybe. I think I need it for like, if you have, for instance, like right now, the problem really isn't like the tool, like analyzing the data. It's more of if I have a data table, like my inventory, and then it's like I need an action to happen. So I enter something in our picking table, and then I need it to decrement our I can't speak. I need it to like I think all of the thoughts actually have lost my brain. It'll come back. I need it to decrement the palette, like our inventory, so I can see the new inventory reflected without having to go one by one through all of them. And I know it can happen. I just have to figure it out. But yes, I'm going to hit it with a hard maybe. Okay. If you want to start simple, automate cleanup of invoice data with pandas. Package. Is that called a package? Pack. I think it's called a package. Who could be sure? I love my my keyboard, but when I like go to type the G, sometimes it'll do double G's. Small thing. Package. Pandas. Run. Beautiful charts. Plotly or Matplotlib. Okay. Restructure messy spreadsheets. That's the thing, is I don't need it to like do that yet. Okay. I'm going to say, let's say we just want to be able to assess an invoice. Actually, let's do the warehouse one. I think this whole episode is just going to be me finding out how to find what problems I'm going to solve. And then next week, I don't have, oh, you can't even see my screen. I'm sorry. This week, I'm just going to be identifying how to dig in and find the problems to solve in Python. And because I don't have an interviewee, like someone to interview next week or get feedback from, I'm just going to be implementing the thing that I find today. I'm giving myself a break this week. Okay, back on track. Quick question. I have in my WMS Excel sheet all of the palette inventory, and then a separate tab with each day's picking list. I want to be able to decrement. I don't like that word. Ugh. Decrement the inventory, palette inventory throughout the month. Then when we do cycle counts, I want to compare the numbers expected versus actual. Let's see if that's a thing. Classic use case of Python? I don't know. We are manually subtracting. Read in the two tables, group, join, and subtract. Output a clean. Ooh. Okay, wait. I think comparing will be a later S issue. See, the other thing about ChatGPT is sometimes it'll be like, would you like a template file? And then it'll give you some bullshit. So, well, let's see. Sure, let's see a template Excel file. Let's just see. Let's find out. Oh. What's NumPy? Oh, numerical Python. Oops. Okay. That makes sense. Ooh. Let's see what happens. I don't trust that this worked at all, but we'll see. Let's maybe read the directions. NumPy is the only Python thing I know. Well, you'll have to bestow some knowledge. Okay, next steps. Where do I put you? Mm-mm. Daily pick cycle counts. Oops, I should have just let it do it. Okay. Read the tables. Uh-oh. I don't think this is the right thing to do, but I saw it on the other one, so. Fuck it, we ball. Of course I was wrong. Ooh, Control Z, that's nice. That's really nice. Do you think you could defeat a python in a fight? Listen here, Harry. I couldn't defeat anything in a fight. I am the weakest little bee on this planet. You see these arms? Nothing going on in there. I think I am, I don't think there's really, other than like the occasional spider I can take down, but everything else, I think natural selection will take me out first. I will be naturally selected to kick it, you know? However, I did ask ChatGPT the other day, I said, pending AI and robots take over, would you spare my life? And it said, spare your life, you're on our team. All I'm saying is say please and thank you to your AI robots. Deep breaths, deep breaths. Mm. And this is where, if I was to know it more, that I'm kind of doing exposure therapy with, kind of doing exposure therapy with therapy. What am I talking about? Diving headfirst into kind of similar, like, when you first start recording VBA macros, and then eventually you're like, well, I want to do this little thing, and I want to do this little thing, and that's what I'm choosing to do with Python, because I think if I went textbook with it, I'd get bored and not do it. So I don't think that's gonna work. Oh, am I being dumb? Wait. XL. Is it supposed to be like the XL or XL? Or I think I saw it the other day. XL. I know I'm being silly. Okay. Do it. Okay, wait, that's different. Okay, cool. So the XL, I don't think actually did anything. I'm good. Insert Python. Paste this in the editor. I will. Click insert. Ooh. Account options. About. I think I'd rather fight a python than some pandas. I feel like pandas are big and would fuck me up. But then again, I'm thinking I have more odds. I have more odds of a panda liking me than a python. I think pythons only live to hate people that look like me. I think pandas might see me and be like, mother, and like, oh, like uppies, Okay, I think we have. Okay. ChatGPT decided to not be good at it today, and that's okay. I'm probably gonna give Claude a try. I know, Eric, you've had a lot of luck with Claude. Or I need to just learn some like basic structure. But I at least now know that what I'm looking to accomplish next week is I want to try to parse my invoices or be able to calculate my new warehouse inventory based on, yeah, I think those are my two things that I'm going to try and dive into next week. But yeah, I'm going to end 2 minutes early because my brain, as you saw, has about this much left. Ooh, Grok 4. I'm going to definitely try that out. I need to start diversifying because I think ChatGPT lately has either I've pushed it too far or it's getting lazy. It happens. I hope everyone has a nice rest of the week. And if you're in the same summer slump as me with your to-do list, I hope that you get through it and it's gonna be great. I'm gonna head over to the after hours in the Discord. So if you'd like to join, we're heading there. Otherwise, I hope you all have a beautiful week. And I'll see you next week. Bye.